Each morning, we wake to the gentle rhythm of the world. Coffee brews, light filters through curtains, and somewhere between dream and waking, we prepare to trade the hours of our lives for something we call money. It's such an ordinary exchange that we rarely pause to wonder about it. Numbers appear in accounts, cards tap against readers. The world spins on, and we trust, without question, that these abstract symbols hold value. But tonight, let's linger on a question that seems almost childlike in its simplicity. What is money, really? Not the mechanics of it, the banking systems or stock markets, but the essence. These slips of paper, these glowing digits, these invisible promises we rearrange our entire lives to earn. What are they? We call it money, and we trust it to buy our food, our shelter, our future. Yet, if you hold a dollar bill up to the light, you'll find no gold inside it, no silver, no substance beyond paper and ink. And if money can be created without work, without time, without anything tangible at all, then what is it truly worth? Here's where the mystery deepens. If our time is the most precious thing we possess, finite, irreplaceable, flowing away with each breath, and we exchange that time for money, then who is spending our time when money is conjured from nothing? This question isn't economic. It's existential. It's philosophical. And as we explore it together tonight, we may discover that money is far more than a tool. It's a mirror reflecting how we see ourselves, our society, and what we believe the future holds. Because if money is time, and time is life, then the creation and destruction of money touches something deeper than markets. It touches the very meaning of our days. Welcome to Waking Dream Stories, a place where wonder meets rest. Here, we explore mysterious questions and the meaning of things, wandering through ideas that feel too big for daylight, but just right for the quiet of the night. If the world feels heavy tonight, if your mind is crowded with things unsolved and undone, this story will ask nothing of you except to listen and drift. If you're drawn to wondering about the world in a way that makes you feel a little more hopeful as you fall asleep, then I hope you'll subscribe. We'll be here with more questions tomorrow. For now, let the world outside fade. Let your breathing slow. Take a deep breath. Let it out. And now, let's talk about money. We humans have always been traders. Long before coins clinked in purses, long before banks rose on city corners, we exchanged what we had for what we needed. Labor for food, goods for shelter, time for survival. Money emerged from this ancient dance, not as an end in itself, but as a language to make exchange easier. In its earliest forms, money was value. A gold coin contained gold. A silver drachma contained silver. The weight in your hand wasn't symbolic. It was wealth itself. Something mined from deep earth. Something that required real effort and real time to produce. In the ancient world, money's value was inseparable from its substance. To hold a coin was to hold a piece of the earth's treasure. Roman soldiers were once paid not in coin, but in salt, a substance so vital to preserving food and sustaining life that it became currency. The Latin word salarium, meaning salt money, gave us our modern word salary. Even today, when we say someone is worth their salt, we're echoing this ancient exchange. During World War II, in prisoner of war camps scattered across Europe, cigarettes became money. They were portable, divisible, and universally desired. A person with a pack of cigarettes could trade for bread, soap, even favors. It wasn't the tobacco that mattered. It was the shared belief that cigarettes could be exchanged for something else. In those camps, money revealed its true nature. Not a thing, but an agreement. And here we glimpse the paradox that will guide our journey. Money is not a thing. It is a story we tell one another about value, about trust, about what matters. And if that story can change, what does it say about the worth of what we trade our lives for? For millennia, the story of money was anchored to something real. Gold, silver, salt, grain, but slowly, piece by piece, we untethered it. We built systems of paper promises backed by vaults of gold. Then, we replaced those promises with promises backed only by more promises. Until, in the late 20th century, we arrived at a strange new reality. Money no longer represented a physical thing. It became a pure idea, a collective agreement floating on nothing but faith. And here lies the unsettling truth. If our time creates money, but money can be created without time, then whose time is really being spent? This is the paradox we will spend the rest of our journey unraveling. We began tonight with a simple question. what is money, really? We've seen that it is both tangible and intangible, a tool, a story, a shared dream. We trade the most precious resource we have, our time, for money. And yet money itself can be conjured from nothing. But if money is just a story, then it has chapters, and stories eventually must end. So, let's step deeper now into the pages of that story and trace the arc of how money came to be, how it changed, and what its destiny might reveal about our own. To understand where money might be headed and how long it can last, we need to look back to where it began. Long before credit cards and central banks, our ancestors lived in a world of direct exchange. If you had wheat and needed wool, you found a shepherd. This worked, but only sometimes. What if the shepherd didn't need wheat? Or what if his wool wasn't ready? Barter was clumsy, inefficient. Trade needed a smoother language. That language was money. The earliest known coins were minted around 600 BCE in the ancient kingdom of Lydia, in what is now Turkey. They were made from electrum, a natural alloy of gold and silver, and stamped with royal symbols to guarantee their weight and purity. For the first time, value could be carried in a pocket, counted precisely, and stored for the future. Even in those early days, people found creative ways to cheat the system. In ancient Rome, unscrupulous merchants would shave coins, trimming tiny slivers of gold or silver from the edges and melting the shavings into new coins. The coins still looked whole, but their actual value had eroded. It was humanity's first lesson in monetary debasement. Money's trustworthiness depends entirely on the integrity of those who issue it. Over centuries, money evolved from metal to paper. In medieval China, the Tang and Song dynasties pioneered paper currency. Lighter, easier to transport, and theoretically backed by precious metals held in imperial reserves. Europe followed centuries later, with banks issuing promissory notes redeemable for gold and silver. In 13th century Venice, merchants developed an ingenious system. Rather than carrying heavy gold coins across dangerous trade routes, they deposited their gold with bankers and received paper receipts. These receipts could be redeemed for gold in distant cities. It was one of the first international banking networks, and it worked because everyone trusted the Venetian bankers' reputation. This link between money and metal endured for millennia. Even into the 20th century, most nations adhered to a gold standard, meaning every unit of currency was backed by a specific quantity of gold locked in a vault. But then came a pivotal moment that changed everything. On August 15, 1971, U.S. President Richard Nixon appeared on television and announced that the dollar would no longer be convertible into gold. This moment, known as the Nixon shock, severed the last direct link between money and any physical commodity. The dollar became a fiat currency, money declared valuable by government decree, not by intrinsic worth. The term fiat comes from Latin, meaning "let it be done." It's the same word used in the biblical phrase fiat lux, let there be light. In a sense, fiat money is money spoken into existence, created by declaration rather than discovery. We had entered a new era. Money was no longer a thing. It was a promise, a belief. And belief, as we know, can be powerful, but it can also be fragile. If money is no longer anchored to something finite, what stops it from multiplying without limit? And if it multiplies too much, what happens to the hours we spent earning it? But what if money's story doesn't end with paper and promises? What if beneath the surface, something stranger is at play? It's one thing to know that money is no longer backed by gold. It's another to realize just how much of it is created from nothing. In the United States today, more than 80% of all dollars in existence were created in just the last 15 years. Most through central bank policies called quantitative easing, which inject newly created money into the economy to stimulate growth. Most money isn't even printed, it's typed. When banks issue loans, they don't hand out existing money. They create new money with keystrokes, backed only by the borrower's promise to repay. In a very real sense, debt is money. The Bank of England, in a 2014 report, confirmed what many economists had long suspected. When a bank makes a loan, it simply adds to that borrower's deposit account. That new deposit is new money. This quiet admission revealed that the money supply is largely created by private banks, not governments. During Zimbabwe's hyperinflation crisis in the 2000s, prices doubled every few days. The government printed $100 trillion banknotes, but they were worth less than the paper they were printed on. People used them as wallpaper, a darkly poetic reminder that when trust evaporates, money reverts to its true value, nearly nothing. That isn't a new story. In 1933, during the Great Depression, the U.S. government made private ownership of gold illegal, and required citizens to turn it in, receiving paper dollars in exchange. The message was clear. Value is not what you have. It's what the system allows you to have. In Weimar Germany in 1923, hyperinflation became so severe that workers were paid twice a day, and their spouses would meet them at the factory gates to rush the money to stores before prices rose again. Children built towers with worthless banknotes. A loaf of bread that cost 250 marks in January cost 200 billion marks by November. All of this leads to a sobering realization. Money is not wealth. It is a claim on wealth, a ticket, a placeholder, a story, and stories can be rewritten. History shows that every fiat currency, over 700 of them throughout history, has eventually died. Some lasted centuries, others mere decades, but all shared the same fate: collapse, devaluation, or replacement. Why? Because when money can be created infinitely, trust, the real foundation, eventually falters. And without trust, money is just paper, ink, or pixels. Yet perhaps this is not a reason for despair. Perhaps it's a clue, a sign that money's story is still evolving, still adapting to new realities. The end of one chapter does not mean the end of the book. Now, let us step beyond economics and into the existential, because beneath all the history and policy, money's deepest meaning lies in its relationship to time. We spend our days, our most precious and finite resource, earning money. We delay dreams, trade passions, sacrifice moments for it. We borrow money and, in so doing, borrow from our future selves. Money, in many ways, is a measurement of life itself. But here is the uncomfortable truth. While money can be created endlessly, time cannot. There is no central bank of minutes, no mint for memories. Each hour we trade is gone forever. A 2010 Princeton study by Daniel Kahneman found that in the United States, happiness rises with income, but only up to about $75,000 per year, which is $95,000 today, adjusted for inflation. Beyond that threshold, the link between money and happiness weakens dramatically. This suggests that money is most valuable not when hoarded, but when it removes the burdens of scarcity and fear. Anthropologists studying hunter-gatherer societies have found that our ancestors worked only about 3 to 5 hours per day to meet their needs. The rest of their time was spent in leisure, socializing, storytelling, and rest. The agricultural revolution and the money economy that followed actually increased our working hours, not decreased them. This leads us to a deeper question. If infinite money can be created, but our hours cannot, what is truly scarce? It isn't paper. It isn't even gold. It's time. The irreplaceable minutes that make up a human life. This realization can be frightening. If money is a story, and if that story can be manipulated, then are we not vulnerable to those who write it? Are we spending our lives chasing a fiction? Or worse, are we allowing others to spend our time for us? But another perspective emerges if we shift our thinking. If money is a story, and we are the storytellers, then we are not powerless. We are participants. We are co-authors. And that means we can choose the value our money reflects. We can decide that our time is too precious to waste on endless accumulation. We can decide that wealth is measured not by digits, but by meaning. We can decide that money should serve life, not the other way around. The poet Mary Oliver once asked, "Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?" She didn't ask what we plan to earn, or accumulate, or save. She asked what we plan to do. Because doing, being, experiencing, these are the true currencies of existence. And if every fiat currency dies, perhaps that isn't a tragedy. Perhaps it's a reminder that we too will one day spend our last hour, and that the goal was never to hoard, but to live. We've traveled far tonight, from gold coins in ancient markets to hyperinflation and the printing presses of the modern age. Along the way, we've uncovered a truth that is both unsettling and liberating. Money is not real in the way we think it is. It is not substance. It is belief. And belief, though fragile, is also endlessly adaptable. The death of one form of money paves the way for another. The collapse of one story allows a new story to be told. What might that new story be? What does the future of money and the future of our time hold? And how can we understand this mystery with peace and not fear? We began this journey with a question: what is money really, and how long does it last? We traced its arc from ancient coins to digital code, from salt and silver to invisible promises typed into existence. we discovered that money is not wealth itself, but a story we tell each other about trust, about value, about exchange, a story that changes with time. Now, as we stand on the edge of tomorrow, we must ask, what comes next? If money is a story, then we are free to write new chapters. Already, the signs of that new story are appearing. Cryptocurrencies are redefining what money can be. They promise transparency, programmability, even fairness. They challenge old power structures and raise new questions about privacy, control, and freedom. In El Salvador, Bitcoin became legal tender in 2021, the first country to adopt a cryptocurrency as official money. Yet in China, the government has launched a digital yuan, giving the state unprecedented ability to track every transaction. These experiments represent opposite visions of money's future. One decentralized and free, the other centralized and controlled. Some economists envision a world where money is no longer created by central banks, but emerges organically from the networks we build. A kind of collective currency that reflects the trust of millions rather than the policies of a few. Others imagine a future where money is tied not to gold or to debt, but to tangible resources like energy or water, or even to something more human, time itself. Time banks already exist in communities around the world. In these systems, 1 hour of anyone's time equals 1 hour of anyone else's time. A doctor's hour equals a gardener's hour, equals a teacher's hour. It's a radical reimagining of value, one that honors the fundamental equality of human time. And beyond all these possibilities lies an even deeper question. Do we even need money at all? Throughout history, money has been a tool to solve the problem of coordination, a way to link our efforts and distribute resources. But as technology accelerates and abundance grows, that problem itself may change. Automation, artificial intelligence, and renewable energy hint at a future where scarcity is not the defining condition of human life. And if scarcity fades, money, as we know it, may fade with it. The end of money would not mean the end of value. It would mean the birth of new ways to express it, ways that align more closely with what truly matters. So where does this leave us? What can we, as individuals, do with this strange and complicated knowledge? The first step is simple. We can remember that money is a tool, not a truth. It is a map, not a territory. And maps, however useful, are not the landscape itself. our time, our creativity, our compassion. These are the real wealth of the human story. Money can measure them, exchange them, amplify them, but it cannot replace them. And no amount of printed currency, no fluctuation of markets can touch their intrinsic value. In certain Pacific Island cultures, traditional gift economies operate without money at all. Instead of transactions, people exchange gifts, not to balance a ledger, but to strengthen relationships. Value flows not from accumulation, but from generosity. The worth of a gift lies not in what you give, but in why you give it. The Iroquois Confederacy practiced the seventh generation principle, making decisions based on how they would affect descendants 7 generations into the future. This long view of value stands in stark contrast to quarterly earnings reports and short-term profit maximization. It reminds us that true wealth is measured in centuries, not quarters. This idea is not as distant from us as it may seem. Every act of kindness, every moment shared, every piece of knowledge passed on without payment, all of these are transactions in a currency far older and more enduring than money. The markets may crash. The currencies may fail. But real forms of wealth cannot be devalued, stolen, or inflated away. And here lies a gentle, liberating truth. Even if money vanishes, we are not poor. Because what is most precious? Time, love, attention, creativity has always been ours. Once we understand this, money loses its power to frighten us. We no longer measure our worth in dollars or credits. We measure it in moments lived deeply, in relationships built with care, in the quiet satisfaction of a life well spent. We asked at the beginning, what is money and how long does it last? The answer is both simple and profound. Money is a story, a shared dream about value, trust, and exchange. It is one of humanity's most powerful inventions, shaping empires and economies, lives and destinies. But, like all stories, it has a lifespan. It is born, it grows, it changes, and eventually, it ends. Every form of money that has ever existed has in time vanished. Yet life has continued. Trust has continued. Value has continued. Because money does not create value, we do. Money will pass, but meaning endures. And when we finally understand that, we are free. free to earn, spend, save, and share without fear, knowing that the currency of our being is far more enduring than any coin. Bills will fade and the numbers will vanish, but the hours we shared will remain forever priceless. Money is a story we tell each other, but love, trust, and time are the only currencies the universe accepts. If wealth is belief, then perhaps the richest among us are those who remember what's truly worth spending. As you drift now into sleep, let this thought settle gently in your mind. Money is temporary, but the value of your life is not. The economy will rise and fall. Currencies will come and go, but the hours you give, the kindness you offer, the wonder you share, these are wealth beyond measure. And when the story of money ends, as all stories eventually do, you will still be here, writing a story far greater than money. Rest now, knowing that your true wealth cannot be taken from you. The most valuable currency you possess is this: the gift of being alive, right now, in this fleeting and precious moment. Your wealth is infinite. Well, if your eyes are still open, I hope your thoughts feel a little farther away from the noise. No matter what, I wish you peace and good thoughts. Good night, dreamers.